Hello and greeting to all the people of the planet wherever you are. My name is Abbas Temori. I'm obviously a Canadian, but originally I'm from Iran. I came sometimes in July 1984. When I was in Iran, I always was dreaming of the West, you know. At the end of the days, when we were playing as a kids, I always saying, the West, the dusk, when the sun goes down, people are not sleeping somewhere. They're still playing. They're there. I want to be there. That's West, that's Canada, that's United States. I guess from the very childhood, I was very different from the other people in my country. I was interested in Hollywood movies, in the Western literature, let's say Victor Hugo, Les Miserables, or some of the writing of Jack London or John Steinbeck, those kind of novels as a kid. And I gradually separated me from my people and their thinking, because I just found that the literature and the culture of the West is more relevant, richer than what we had. In the course of time, as I grew up, I don't know, around 14, 15, I studied and came across the writing of the previous Muslims, a few hundred years ago, like those that you know in the West as Rumi. And their writings and their explanation of Islam was very different from what was practiced those days in Iran. And there was a dichotomy I noticed that exists between the cultures, between what was among the Iranian and between what was in the West and what was in Iran. And it's just the rigidity and the hardship that was around inclined me more and more to the cultures and to the life outside of Iran, outside of Iranians. Because, for example, I loved a Christian girl, I could never even talk to her. And in the course of time, in between these things, I came across the Baha'i Faith. I think I was 16 years old those days, through a person named Tawhid Adifard. First, it was my uncle, but I somehow would not pay too much attention about him becoming a Baha'i, or other part of my people. But Tawhid explained the Baha'i Faith in a different view to me. I read actually some of the writing of Baha'u'llah, and then I read the history, the bloody history of the Baha'i Faith. It was instantaneous. Immediately I found Baha'u'llah is like my father. I just said to myself, if he was thinking like this some 150 years before me, what would have happened to him and those who followed him? And this immediately created a bond between me and him, a very strong one. Anyways, later on, the revolution in Iran, as all you know, Islamic revolution happened, and I ended up going to India first for a few years, and then I ended up coming to Canada. In Canada, I just, again, saw something very tremendous that was very, very strange for me. To see the values that people in the Middle East, in Iran, among the Muslims, the values that they honor and they love and they cherish, it's actually existing among the people in Canada. Generosity, manhood, humanity, helping each other, being polite, justice, social justice. It was very amazing. Because in Iran, we were always, I guess, taught that people in the West, they are reckless, they are sexual pervert. They had just no idea. They're thieves, they're brigands, they stole from the world, and that's how they built those countries. When I came down here, it was totally amazing. Because I was saying also to myself that, would there be a place in the earth that this writing of Baha'u'llah and his rules and his laws can actually be demonstrated, like a country like that, this idea can be developed? And sure enough, I saw Canada definitely is a prelude to such a civilization, such a divine civilization that Baha'u'llah tried to explain to us. So it felt like home. Canada felt like home. In Iraq, people were telling me that a boy like you, who read books and writes poetry up for Baha'u'llah in a country like Iran, how would such a guy like you can survive? You know, you're so alien to everything. Probably that was my own thinking, and I was just thinking, this life is just not for me in this country at all. I'm not like these people. But it wasn't the case in Canada. I immediately felt these people are just like myself. I remember a lot of encounters as a salesman to the people, but there were a couple of them I mentioned today that was really, again, always remember these stories. I remember in 1984 when I was in Thunder Bay. Well, I went from Sarnia to Thunder Bay, and I wasn't supposed to leave because as an immigrant, I'm supposed to stay like 1 year in the city that I came. But I found a job through my friend, this Tawheed, in Thunder Bay. So I went there and I got actually the job by his help. But the job didn't last very long because it was in winter, so it couldn't last very long. And I had to go, I ran out of work in the winter. So here we are, and I'm going to the government to asking that could I get some money to go and help me out to rent some place because I have a child now and I don't live anywhere. They said, sorry, we can't do that. You have to be in Canada for 1 year before you can get welfare. And you haven't been here. You've been here for 8 months, 9 months. I tried to ask Persian, Iranian, that they were in Thunder Bay. Nobody helped me. And we were in this situation, no place to go to sleep. There's one guy, an Anglo-Saxon, tall man, who was just your average Canadian worker. His name was John Henry. And absolutely a white guy from, Anglo-Saxon, Englishman. And he was a miner. I don't know for what reason he came to me one day and he said that, Abbas, I worked last week somewhere in Kakabeka Falls and I have this extra money, I want to lend it to you. I told him, but I didn't ask you for money. And I don't know, he must have heard it. He just came and gave me the money. He said, whenever you have, you just give it to assembly, give it to somebody, If that money wasn't there, we would not be able to pay the down payment to go and live with my wife and the kid, the child that we have a couple of months, because no Persian help at that time. This was really one of them, and then I had a job, I remember later on. I was working for Mr. Seamless Eavesdropping. There I found another Canadian. This Canadian wasn't even a Baha'i. John Henry was a Baha'i, but this fellow was not a Baha'i. His name was Jack Gervais, or John Gervais, we call him Jack. He basically taught me all these things that I know about the construction, siding, installations and all that. It was a very tremendous worker he was, really a master in what he was doing. And when he asked me that, he gave me a book, I think, about Southern Baptist or whatnot. And I gave him, sure enough, I gave him a book, Thief in the Night, I remember that. He read the book and came, he said that, hey, Abbas, they call me Tony. Tony, I think we might be like those Jews that they didn't accept Jesus Christ when he came. We might be just like them. Maybe Jesus has come. and we haven't noticed it. I was, really happy to hear that. I told him actually that is the truth, but how you would investigate about it to know more, it's your business. But that is the fact, my friend. And it was in Thunder Bay, I think I was just 1 year, not even 1 year, the same year after 2-3 months. I found another Czechoslovakian guy, we got together and we started a company, and I started to sell some siding, soffit, fascia and all that. And where I learned to become a salesman, I'm essentially a shy individual. Again, John Henry helped me. That he said, Canada is not what you think. It's a very friendly country. We're going to go knock at the door and talk to people about Baha'i Faith. I said, it is impossible. I cannot even imagine doing that. People could be sleeping at their house, could be eating. They could have private things going on. How can you just knock the door? He said, no, it's not like this. Abbas, come. He went and started talking, I remember, in McKellar Street someplace. And people received him and he talked. Well, I just said, my God, look at this. Now we have dissected Canada and Canadian. We went right inside and I just saw another feature of the people, that they're so friendly and nice. That was the beginning of me learning to become a salesman. So John Gervais, who was not a Baha'i, taught me how to do install siding, soffit, fascia, and Mr. John Henry taught me how to sell it. So John Gervais, Jack, comes and says that, I'm afraid of you guys. You guys come from the Middle East and all of a sudden, after a year, you start your own business. Because I said,